Hey, I'm Chris Ashton, and we're in Orange County, California, and this is my Ruffian 40. It's a replica, Superformance replica of a 66 GT40 Mark I. And then of course, we went a little crazy with it and wide bodied it and did a modern engine and all that kind of stuff. So originally I bought it and I was just gonna put my own motor and transaxle in it and just drive it as a replica. And then it took on a life of its own and we went pretty extreme with it. So they come from Superformance, painted and wired up and everything minus the motor and transaxle. But then, I didn't like the headlights and I didn't like the taillights, and then I wanted more wider front tires. And so one thing led to the other, and we just decided to go full build on this thing and really customize it and make it my own. So there's a lot of details, strengthen the chassis, strengthen the shock mounts. A bigger modern is the 5.2 liter, 580 horsepower illuminator in there. I put in electronic power steering, assist steering in it because of the wider front tires and the wider offset on it. Really from the front of the car to the back of the car, smooth the door handles. I think every part of the car has been touched at this point. The theme of the car became like modernizing, making the GT40, the old school GT40 more modern. So it's a lot of high-tech components and materials and that sort of thing, and also processes really to build it. So the car was first designed on the computer using a high-res model of the car as a basis, and then we 3D printed these. I actually 3D printed all the fenders and the nose piece and the side skirts. I printed that stuff in my garage on a large format 3D printer. And then we took those and matched those up to the fenders, fit them to the fenders, body worked them. And then once everything fit perfect, those were removed. We pulled molds off of those, and then Competition Carbon actually made all the body pieces out of carbon fiber. These are Signature 3 wheels as part of their flagship series. They're forged, and you can get custom offsets and finishes and that sort of thing. I worked with Superformance and Signature wheels. These are the first set of Signature wheels made for GT40 center locks. They're gloss black hoops and a matte bronze center, and the rears are 19 by 13s and the fronts are 18s by 11s. These are actually, I stripped them out of Morimoto taillights made for like the 2013 Ford Mustangs. So they're a conversion taillight kit that kind of makes the back of the Mustangs look similar to the Ford GTs.
Right.
Which the Ford GTs are kind of a modern interpretation of the GT40s. So it was kind of neat to be able to take those full circle and bring it back and put these taillights back in a GT40. There's just a center pin, a safety pin, and then there's a latch on either side. And then the whole clamshell tilts back. The car was a race car, so everything is quick access and removable. So we can tilt this up, and then you can take the whole thing off if you wanted to. So this is a 5.2 liter Coyote. So it's a modern motor, dual overhead cam. It's the same block and heads that the Shelby GT350s have, but bigger cams, and it's a crossplane crank instead of flat plane. Makes 580 horsepower. It's got a custom tune on it. I fabricated the exhaust myself and the intake. The exhausts are equal length, 180 degree headers, so some two primary tubes on the left bank cross over to the right collector and vice versa. And so it gives it a flat plane crank sound. I wanted it to sound more exotic. I love the way the Mustangs sound, but I didn't want you to think this was a Mustang when you heard it going down the road. I wanted you to turn and be like, what is that? So this really gives it that crazy kind of race car sound. in order to fit the Coyote motor in the GT40, you can run the Borla stacks, but I wanted to keep everything as close to Ford, standard control pack stuff as possible. So you're able to actually 180 degree the intake manifold, just reverse it and have it work in reverse. And then it's paramount for modern motors that you get fresh air into the engine and not hot air from the engine bay.
Right.
So that's why I built the roof scoop, and it's got a sealed air box and it comes into 2 pieces so you can get to the air filter easily. But yeah, the top half just sandwiches on top of the bottom half, and it keeps the hot engine air out of the motor. I built the roof scoop in steel first because that's what I'm used to working in. So built it on an English wheel planishing hammer, and then Competition Carbon pulled a mold straight off of the metal roof scoop and made a carbon fiber one for me. So it was kind of a bonus thing. I was ready to use the metal if I needed to, but I think the metal one was like 27 pounds or 25 pounds, and this thing's like 5 pounds. So the car is right-hand drive, and it's that way because the original race cars back in the day were right-hand drive. At Le Mans, it's mostly right-hand turns, so the race cars put the driver on the right side for weight distribution. So I wanted to keep that, pay homage to the original cars. But because they were American drivers, they didn't want to have to relearn, with the shifter on the left side. Right. So the car was designed actually to have the shifter run along the fuel tank on the right-hand side. So getting in the car, you can either pull the steering wheel off, or you can do what I do and you kind of thread your leg between the steering wheel and the shifter to get in. So I opted to have the seats done in Alcantara in the center console. It's just a nicer feeling material for me. And then custom gauges by Speed Hut. I got the Ruffian logo in there. This cool custom shifter by Jake Palm. He's awesome. He's a knife maker. And so the shift rod is titanium, and then the shift knob is a composite carbon. So it's colored resin in layers of carbon fiber. So it's a really nice kind of cool finish. So I started in high school with just trying to keep the car that I bought for peanuts alive,
Yeah.
And then when I got a job in the games industry, started making more money. I started modding cars, bolting on exhaust and stuff like that. And eventually that turned into bolting on superchargers, which is more involved.
Yeah.
And then I got a welder and I started fabricating, and it just kind of builds, it's 30 plus years of having cars and loving car stuff.